Chapter 605. Zhangyu, that's right. Why did you ask Tian Tian to call so many students over to the forest? Couldn't you have just asked the head of academic affairs to head over alone? Before Shi Yao could say a word, Leng Wan, who was seated beside Zhangyu and opposite to Lu Benlai, spoke up with a cold voice. The head of the Academic Affairs Bureau is there to punish Qin Yiran, and Tian Tian is calling over those students to spread the news. Lu Benlai didn't really understand what the girls were talking about, but seeing that Leng Wan had spoken up, he nodded without any hesitation and agreed. That's right. Leng Wan is right. Leng Wan raised her eyes and looked at Lu Benlai expressionlessly. Lu Benlai didn't mind her coldness at all. As soon as he met her gaze, he flashed a radiant smile. Noticing Lu Benlai's smile, Leng Wan quickly retracted her gaze and turned back to her phone. Zhangyu shook her head and said, I don't really understand what Nguyen Wan is trying to say. Shi Yao was already used to Zhangyu's slow-witted reactions, so she softened her voice and explained the situation to Zhangyu in detail. The reason why I sent a message to Tian Tian, telling her to bring the head of the Academic Affairs Office and a few other students to the forest 10 minutes after I met up with Qin Yiran is because those students will surely gossip after witnessing everything that happened tonight. By then, it'll reach the forum, and Qin Yiran's post on the forum will be destroyed without a fight. Oh, I get it now. Zhangyu nodded in realization. Then now are the wounds on your face really fine? That bastard Qin Yiran is too much. She's so vicious. Zhangyu, that's right. When I see her outside the academy, I'll teach her a lesson. Hearing Zhangyu's words, Shi Yao hurriedly waved her hands and said, There's no need for that. She didn't hit me at all. Lin Jiej, who had been sitting beside Shi Yao and listening to their conversation calmly, suddenly turned his head to look at Shi Yao in surprise. Oblivious to Lin Jiej's reaction, Shi Yao noticed the astonished looks on Zhangyu and He Tiantian's faces, so she quickly explained with a smile, The bruises on my face and neck aren't injuries but allergies. These lumps might look scary, but that's because I applied some ointment on them myself. After a good night's sleep I'll be fine tomorrow, He Tiantian. So, Qin Yiran didn't hit you at all? If so, the handprint on her face was from you? The waiter served the barbecue. Shi Yao, who was in a hurry to eat, nodded her head vehemently. He Tiantian. It's no wonder Qin Yiran broke down so easily. Looks like she's suffering in silence tonight. Leng Wan. She only has herself to blame. This is the only way to deal with someone like her. Yao Yao is giving her a taste of her own medicine. Lu Benlai. That's right, campus farce Qin only has himself to blame. Leng Wan raised her head to look at Lu Benlai. With a smile still on his face, Lu Benlai placed the freshly peeled prawns onto Leng Wan's plate. Leng Wan immediately lowered her head with an icy expression, but she didn't return the prawns Lu Benlai had placed on her plate. Hidantan. Now what about the wound on your leg? Is it fake too? After swallowing the food in her mouth, Shi Yao shook her head and replied, That's not it. It's real. I heard you guys coming over so I accidentally cut myself. However, the wound isn't deep so I thought that since I'm already injured, I might as well make use of it. So I squeezed the wound with all my might, and a bunch of blood was squeezed out. That's how that scary drawing appeared. Chapter 606. Before Shi Yao could finish her words, Lin Jiej, who was seated beside her, suddenly stood up. His movements were a little too loud so he alarmed Shi Yao. Shi Yao instinctively turned her head to look at the seat beside her, but due to his tall stature, she only caught a glimpse of a pure white robe before he walked away. With a mutton skewer in his mouth, Lu Benlai turned around and asked in bewilderment, Boss, where are you going? Lin Jiej didn't say a word, only leaving behind his back as he walked away. After the door closed, Lu Benlai turned around and said, Little Junior, continue. Boss might be. Lu Benlai was just about to say that he needed to pee, but before he could finish his words, Leng Wan, who was sitting opposite him, slowly swallowed the potato chip in her mouth before raising her head and saying, He's unhappy. Oblivious to the change in Lin Jiej's expression, Shi Yao widened her eyes in bewilderment and asked, Unhappy? Lu Benlai, who also didn't notice anything amiss, heard Leng Wan's words and replied without any hesitation, Yes, Leng Wan is right. Boss might be unhappy. Shi Yao turned to look at Lu Benlai with a peculiar gaze and asked, Are you sure? She could still trust Ling Wan's words, but why couldn't she trust Lu Benlai's words? For some reason, she felt that he was trying to suck up to Lu Benlai. Lu Benlai. I'm sure, of course I'm sure. I've known boss for so long, so I know that he's thirsty when he moves his lips. I know that he's hungry when he kicks his feet. I know that he's tired when he raises his chin. Even though Shi Yao couldn't figure out what Lu Benlai's kicking feet and hungry had to do with each other, she pondered over it for a moment and concluded that Lu Benlai probably understood Lin Jiej better than she did. So she turned to Lung Wan and asked, "But why is he unhappy? It's not like we provoked him." Lung Wan could only sense that Lin Jiej was unhappy, but she couldn't figure out the reason behind it. Facing Shi Yao's question, she shook her head and replied, "I really don't understand. He Tian. I can't tell that Senior Lin is unhappy at all. Zhang Yu. Oh, I finally get it now. Yao, you weren't the one who was beaten, but you pretended to be beaten to slander Qin Iran. Yao, you sure is a good ruse." Everyone at the table turned to look at Zhang Yu in unison. Seeing that everyone was staring at her, Zhang Yu smiled in confusion. "What's wrong? Why are you all looking at me?" Everyone shook their heads in unison. Nothing, but in his heart, he was thinking, "Girl, your reflex arc is really long." Thus, the topic returned back to Lin Jiej's displeasure. While everyone was busy expressing their opinions, He Tian picked up a bowl of pig's brain and placed it in front of Zhang Yu. Eat more of this." The entire table of people discussed for roughly 5 minutes, but they were unable to come to a conclusion. In the end, Lu Benlai came up with an answer. "Our boss's temper has always been volatile. It's just like the weather in Beijing in June. In the afternoon, the sky would be clear and blue, but in the evening, a storm would suddenly strike. So there's no need to think too much into it. Once he returns, everything will be fine. Come, let's eat while it's hot." Under Lu Benlai's persuasion, everyone began eating once more. Shi Yao, who had the greatest appetite, grabbed a skewer of her favorite honey-glazed chicken wings and took 2 bites before coming to a stop. Chapter 607. Is Lin Jiej really displeased with me? Then why on earth was he unhappy? Also, why isn't he back yet? Shi Yao tilted her head and stared at Lin Jiej's empty seat for a moment before turning her head back to take a bite of a chicken wing. Usually when it came to food, she wouldn't be in the mood to think about anything else. But this time, after chewing on the chicken wing for a while, she stared at the table full of people chatting merrily for a moment before putting down the chicken wing. She took out her phone and sent a message to Lin Jiej. "Where did you go?" Roughly half a minute later, her phone vibrated in her hand. Lin Jiej had replied to her message. "I came out to buy something." Lin Jiej doesn't look like he's angry at all. Shi Yao's uneasy heart calmed down in an instant, and she replied, "Oh, hurry back then. The barbecue won't taste good when it gets cold." Lin Jiej replied with an M and didn't say anything else. After confirming that Lung Wan and Lu Benlai had misread Lin Jiej's mood, Shi Yao put down her phone and focused on her barbecue. Roughly 10 minutes after sending Lin Jiej the message, Lin Jiej finally returned to his room. Everyone in the room heard the door open, and they hurriedly greeted him. "Boss, Senior Lin Jiej, you're back?" Shi Yao chewed on a piece of corn as she tilted her head back to look at Lin Jiej and asked with a smile on her face. Lin Jiej didn't say a word throughout the entire exchange. However, when he saw Shi Yao's radiant smile, he lowered his head to look at her. After hesitating for roughly 3 seconds, he gave her a slight nod before pulling out a chair and taking a seat. With Lu Benlai around, even though Lin Jiej was acting nonchalantly, it didn't affect the atmosphere in the room at all. Shi Yao leaned over to Lin Jiej's side and asked softly, "What did you go to buy?" Lin Jiej remained silent. Shi Yao didn't pay it any heed. She picked up the freshly added lamb skewer and placed it on Lin Jiej's plate, saying, "You haven't eaten yet. Hurry up and eat." Lin Jiej still didn't say a word, nor did he move. Shi Yao finally noticed something amiss. "Why aren't you eating?" Hearing her urging, Lin Jiej turned his head to look at her before picking up the lamb skewers. Shi Yao didn't say a word, but she could sense that Lin Jiej was truly unhappy. Lung Wan and Lu Benlai weren't mistaken about his emotions. Shi Yao was tempted to ask Lin Jiej what he was unhappy about, but the two of them weren't the only ones in the room. The others were still in the midst of chatting with one another, and her sudden question would only spoil the mood of the group. So, after a moment of contemplation, Shi Yao chose to remain silent. No one was drinking. They were just eating. Not long after, it was time to leave. While Lin Jie and Shi Yao returned home, the others returned to the academy. As it was nearing 11, the doors to the dormitory were going to be locked soon. So at 10:50, Lu Binlai left with Leng Nuan, Jiang Yu, and He Tiantian. Soon, only Shi Yao and Lin Jie were left in the suite. Lin Jie had been silent for the entire night, so the entire suite was eerily silent. The two of them sat in their respective seats for a while before Lin Jie called the waiter over to settle the bill. Chapter 608. Shi Yao's body instinctively shuddered. She turned her head to look at Lin Jie and asked, "What's wrong?" Lin Jie was still as silent as ever, but his grip on her wrist didn't show the slightest sign of loosening. He shot a glance at her before standing up and kicking the chair behind him lightly to the side. After which, he dragged Shi Yao over to the chair that he had been sitting on earlier and pressed her down onto it. "Lin Jie, what are you doing?" Shi Yao was completely bewildered by Lin Jie's actions. But before she could finish her doubtful words, Lin Jie had already kneeled down in front of her and grabbed her ankle. In an instant, Shi Yao's voice disappeared without a trace. For a moment, she was unable to process what was going on. She first looked at her leg before turning to look at Lin Jie. When she finally caught her breath, she was just about to ask him what's wrong, when she saw Lin Jie taking out a box of medicine from his pocket. Shi Yao recognized the medicine. It was the famous Yunnan Bai Yao. It had the effects of stopping bleeding, healing wounds, reducing inflammation, and reducing swelling. It was only after Lin Jie unscrewed the cap and carefully applied the medicine on Shi Yao's leg that Shi Yao realized that Lin Jie had actually used both his hands. Without any hesitation, she exclaimed, "We haven't checked your right hand yet, so why did you?" Before she could finish her words, Lin Jie had already raised his head to look at her and said, "It's fine." Seemingly noticing her displeasure, he was afraid that she would continue pestering him over this matter, so he paused for 3 seconds before adding, "It's fine as long as you don't use too much strength." Shi Yao wanted to object, but this time, before her words could even reach her throat, she was stifled once more. The suite fell silent once more. Shi Yao stared at Lin Jie's hand for a moment, and the more she looked at it, the more familiar it seemed to her. It was as if she had seen it somewhere before. But before she could figure out where this familiar feeling came from, Lin Jie had already finished applying the medicine on her wound. Shi Yao stared at the band-aid on her shallow wound for a moment before a thought suddenly came to her mind. She raised her head and asked, "Back then you said that you went out to buy something. Did you go out to buy medicine?" Lin Jie didn't say a word. He only replied with a very faint before standing up and patting the dust off his knees. Then he turned to Shi Yao and said, "Let's go." Without saying a word, Shi Yao followed Lin Jie out of the suite. After exiting the barbecue restaurant, it was a pedestrian street. During the day the streets were filled with people, but because it was late it was especially quiet. Shi Yao and Lin Jie walked to the side of the road one after another. After walking for around 100 meters, Shi Yao raised her head and glanced at Lin Jie's back. At that time he had gone out to buy medicine. Before he left, she had proudly told them about the wound on her leg. Then could it be that he was unhappy because of what she had said? But why was he unhappy? A slight frown appeared on Shi Yao's forehead. She pondered for a moment before coming to a realization. Shi Yao hesitated for a moment before hastening her footsteps to catch up to Lin Jie. When they were standing side by side, she broke the silence and asked, "Are you angry? And you're angry at me?" Lin Jie was stunned for a moment, but he still didn't say a word. Chapter 609. Had it been in the past, Shi Yao wouldn't have dared to be so confident. But at this moment she had no idea where her confidence came from, but she was so certain of it. After saying those words, she continued without waiting for Lin Jie's response, "Actually, I swear that it was really an accident this time. I didn't think that I would get cut, or else I could have escaped unscathed. I just think that Qiniran is too hateful. Since I'm injured, I should make use of my wounds to the fullest. Otherwise, wouldn't I have gotten injured for nothing? But don't worry, I won't be so careless in the future." If I encounter such a situation again, I'll be careful and try my best not to injure. Yeah. Lin Jiej suddenly spoke up, interrupting Shi Yao's rambling. Shi Yao shut her mouth. Lin Jiej took 2 steps forward before continuing. Yao Yao, I'm not angry at you. He's not angry at me? Did I guess wrongly? Shi Yao thought that shouldn't be the case. I'm angry at myself, Lin Jiej replied. I'm angry at myself for allowing you to get injured right under my nose. I'm angry at myself for promising to be your 110. I'm angry at myself for failing to protect you. I'm angry at myself for courting a rotten peach blossom and implicating you. Hearing Lin Jiej's words, Shi Yao was stunned. He said that he wasn't angry at her but at himself. Does he mean that he's blaming himself? But this matter wasn't his fault either. Shi Yao opened her mouth and it took a long while before she finally spoke. It's not your fault. I was the one who wanted to do it, so I can't blame you. Shi Yao wanted to reassure Lin Jiej, but she didn't know how she should console him. After stumbling for a while, she finally decided to follow her heart and reveal everything that she had been thinking and doing. Just like that, without her realizing it, she said, I didn't know what happened at first and it was Tian who told me about it on the phone. After that, I went to the forums to take a look and I saw Qin Yiran talking about Nuanyuan. You should know that Liang Mumu's friends were the ones who provoked us during the KTV incident. It's not like Nuanyuan wanted to become a phoenix and went to look for them on her own accord. Other than Nuanyuan, you were also involved. Upon hearing those words, Lin Jiej's footsteps faltered slightly. Oblivious to Zhang Xian's reaction, Shi Yao continued speaking. I know that you're doing this for my own good, so you went to the forums to clarify the matter, but they're saying that you've been cuckolded, that love is a ray of light, that you're so cuckolded that you're going crazy. The person who said those words is probably the one who's been cuckolded. His entire family has been cuckolded. So, the reason why Softbun went to look for Qin Yiran so angrily wasn't because she had been slandered by Qin Yiran, but because of him. As for the girl that Lu Benlai likes, she's probably just a passing fella. Hearing those words, the indescribable stifling feeling in Lin Jiej's heart dissipated in an instant, and in its place was an indescribable delight. No, it was ecstasy. Speaking of the forum, Shi Yao couldn't help but feel a little angry. Don't you think that those spectators are really going overboard? It's as if they're just here to watch a show, and they're already ridiculing and criticizing Zhang Xian indiscriminately. Chapter 6:10. In their eyes, is it because they don't have that much money that others won't be able to do what they can't do? Also, do you think that you can show a property ownership certificate to anyone? There's personal information on it. Do they know how to respect one's privacy? Do you know that the person who asked you to show your property ownership certificate is just like an author I saw on Weibo? Someone said that her age wasn't what it was advertised to the public, and she insisted on showing her identity certificate to clarify the matter. Do you think that person is a lunatic? They want to control the heavens, the earth, and even others. Do they know that the greatest success they can achieve is to control themselves? All in all, I was really angry when I saw their words, but there were so many people watching the show, so I couldn't possibly go and settle the scores with them one by one, could I? That's why I blamed all of this on Qin Yiran. Since she was the one who started the matter, it goes without saying that she should be the one to clarify the matter. However, even though Qin Yiran is feeling good about it, I'm still a little angry at those people on the forum. I haven't even seen your property ownership certificate before, so what right do they have to show it to the public? Also money. I don't even know how much money you have, so how could they possibly know about it? Shi Yao muttered to herself for a very, very long time. By the time she was done, she realized that she hadn't received any response from Lin Jiej despite asking, right, several times. She subconsciously turned around to look at Lin Jiej, but before she could see his expression, Lin Jiej suddenly passed his phone screen to her and said, "This is my current savings." The page on Lin Jiej's phone screen was the bank page. The long string of numbers on the screen left Shi Yao's head in a daze. She had to look at the screen and count a few times before she realized that there were 9 digits in his bank account, and if she included the decimal point it would be 11 digits. There were simply too many numbers and Shi Yao couldn't make sense of what they meant. She silently counted with her fingers, and it was only then that she realized that there were more than 100 million in his bank account. What insane savings! Other than that, there's also... After saying those words, Lin Jiej tapped on the screen a few times, and another page appeared before Shi Yao. These are the wealth management funds that I bought, and the approximate amount is here. Also, these are the stocks. The stock market hasn't been doing too well recently, so I haven't been earning as much as before. I have 3 houses. One is a villa in the suburbs. It will only be finished by the end of this year. The other one is where you live now. The last one is an office building. As for the property certificates, they are all in the safe at home. It's in the study. You've seen it before. The password is 888,888. There are gems, gold bars, and US dollars inside. Anyway, I don't remember how much they are worth. Go home and count them if you want to see them. The certificates are all inside. Chapter 6:11. Wait a minute. Her brain was a little off, and she couldn't keep up with what was going on. Weren't you criticizing those people on the forum? How did it suddenly become Lin Jiej's asset? Coming to a realization, Shi Yao hurriedly interrupted Lin Jiej's words. Did we go off topic? Did I? Lin Jiej retorted. Didn't you say that you wanted to know how much money I have? Shi Yao was taken aback by Lin Jiej's retort. She stared at Lin Jiej blankly for a moment before realizing that he was referring to what she had said earlier. Even I don't know how much money you have, so how could they possibly know? I was just using it as an analogy. I didn't really want to know. After explaining the situation, Shi Yao continued. But now that I know, I can no longer look you in the eye. Lin Jiej replied with a perplexed With a serious look on her face, Shi Yao said, with that insane amount of savings, do you know that when I look at you now I feel as if you're ice cream, fruit, chocolate, milk, Western food, Chinese food, pasta? As long as it's edible, you're automatically switching between it. Lin Jiej. He was rendered speechless. It was fortunate that he knew her well, so his worldview wasn't shattered. Lin Jiej. Then are you interested in becoming like me? As long as you look in the mirror, you'll feel as if you're constantly switching between all kinds of edible food? Shi Yao's eyes lit up. How? Are you going to teach me how to earn money? Lin Jiej. Earning money is too difficult, so it's not suitable for you. I'll teach you a way to earn money while lying down. What do you mean by earning money is too difficult, so it's not suitable for you? Shi Yao could vaguely hear that she was being looked down upon, and her lips twitched. However, she still asked with interest, what is it? Marry me. Lin Jiej replied nonchalantly. Shi Yao staggered, and she nearly fell to the ground. I'm serious. If you marry me, we'll be able to obtain 35% of grandfather's shares. Compared to the market value of grandfather's shares, this bit of money I have is nothing at all. We can split the shares 50-50, and if you think that you're on the losing end, how about 40-60? I'll take 40 and you take 60. If that doesn't work, 30-70 and I'll take 30 and you take 70. Frightened, Shi Yao hurriedly waved her hands and said, You can't joke around like that. This isn't a joke. Even if it's a joke that can become real. Lin Jiej was still as relaxed as ever, and there was a hint of nonchalance in his tone. However, Shi Yao's heartbeat somehow quickened upon hearing those words. Even if she was a little slow on the uptake at times, she knew that Lin Jiej was actually being serious behind his nonchalance. Think about it, a single drop of blood can only be replenished with 7 buns. You're more or less part of the reason why I'm going to settle the score with Qin Iran tonight. So, you have to take responsibility for the blood that I've lost. I don't care, you have to treat me to delicacies to replenish the blood that I've lost. As she spoke, she began to list the dishes she wanted to eat. I want to eat spicy fish, boiled pork slices, crab roe tofu. Lin Jiej didn't say a word, but he could tell that she was trying to avoid it. His expression didn't change much, but a hint of darkness flashed across the depths of his eyes. Oh. Chapter 6:12. I want more. Braised lion's head, abalone, sea cucumber. Just as Shi Yao was going through the names of countless dishes, the silent Lin Jiej suddenly spoke up. I'm sorry, Lin Jiej's words came too abruptly. It was as if someone had sealed Shi Yao's acupoints. Her footsteps abruptly came to a halt, and even the soft and crisp voice she had been trying to muster up had gone silent. Lin Jiej also stopped walking after Shi Yao. He stared at the empty road in front of him for a moment before slowly turning around to look at Shi Yao. Yao, I'm sorry. Shi Yao snapped out of her daze and slowly turned around to meet Lin Jie's eyes. There was confusion and bewilderment on her face, but even more than that, there was shock and astonishment. Meeting her gaze, Lin Jie didn't remain silent for too long this time. He quickly added, I'm sorry. His tone was very earnest and sincere, as if he was making an important vow, solemn and solemn. Shi Yao opened her mouth. Why did you? She only managed to say those 4 words before she suddenly stopped. However, he seemed to understand what she wanted to ask. He stared straight into her eyes as he silently went through the words he wanted to say in his heart. Then with a soft and gentle voice he said, When I first heard of your name, I was 16 years old. I was in my 2nd year of high school. Back then my drawer was filled with love letters of all colors, but I really wasn't interested in girls. Back then I thought that playing games or kicking a ball around with a male classmate was much more interesting than playing with girls. I still remember the day when the midterm exams ended. The test paper was rather difficult. I was the only one in the entire school to get a perfect score in both comprehensive science and mathematics, and I was even 30 points ahead of the 2nd place, so I felt a sense of superiority. Back then I didn't know how to flaunt my results, but I didn't want my family to know about it. So before I entered the house, I unzipped my bag and revealed half of my paper. I thought that if I tossed my bag onto the sofa, the paper would surely fall out, and no matter who saw it, it would surely spread like wildfire. But Lin Jie lowered his head slightly as a smile crept onto his face, reminiscent of the scheming he had done in the past. Things didn't go as I wished. Not only did I fail to flaunt my results, my grandfather even called me into the study. He sternly pointed at you and your parents, who were at our house back then, and said, Let me introduce you. Jie, this is your fiancé, Shi Yao. How should I put this feeling then? It's just that I really found it ridiculous. I don't have much interest in girls, but I don't intend to be a monk for the rest of my life either. I think that this is a matter of fate, so I really couldn't accept it back then. As you can see, I rejected him right in front of you and your parents. Chapter 6:13. Later on, I tried to rebel against my grandfather. I tried all sorts of methods, jumping off a building, going on a hunger strike, running away from home. I tried everything, but it was all useless. My grandfather didn't fall for my tricks at all. Back then I really felt despair. For some inexplicable reason I had a fiancé. It was embarrassing and infuriating. That led to the scene where I called you to our backyard and spat so many harsh words at you. How should I put this? I really didn't know that the 2 of us would end up like this. If I had known that things would end up like this, I would have never said so many harsh words to you. If time could be reversed, if the heavens were to give me another chance, if I could really return to that autumn, if I were to return to my grandfather's study when I returned home, and he pointed to you and said, Jie, this is your fiancé, Shi Yao, I would have replied with, Nice to meet you, Shi Yao. It's our first time meeting, and I look forward to meeting you. In the beginning, he really didn't think that he would like her. Later on, he really didn't think that he would like her so much. So, in this world, there really was medicine for regret or a time machine. If he could really go back to the day he first met her, he would definitely not vent his frustrations on her after his grandfather forced him to do it. But it was a pity that this was just his expectations. There was no medicine for regret, and there was no way he could return to the past. Even if he didn't like her now, those words he said when they were young were still too much, and he should apologize for them. After all, in this marriage he was just like her, a victim. Ever since the day she moved into his house a month ago, he had learned that she was still brooding over those past events, and he had been thinking about how he could salvage the situation. His heartless words were as sharp as swords, perhaps even sharper than swords. Even a cut made by a sword would leave a scar, not to mention, what he had left behind was a wound in her heart. After much thought, he felt that the best way to salvage the situation was to sincerely apologize to her. After all, a mistake was a mistake. Even if he tried to cover it up, he wouldn't be able to change the fact that he was wrong. Rather than cowering in fear, he might as well openly admit his mistake. Besides, there was a saying that went, whoever tied the bell should untie it. He was the one who tied the knot, so naturally, he had to undo it himself. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej apologized once more. "Oh, I'm really sorry. Although I didn't mean to hurt you, I still hurt you. I admit to my mistake." Never in Shi Yao's wildest dreams could she have imagined that Lin Jiej would apologize to her because of the past. Did she mind what he had said? Of course she minded. It was so hurtful to her self-esteem that when she was young, she would often feel a little inferior whenever she thought of what he said. In fact, because of how he called her a silly girl, she would even eat sesame, black beans, and black rice for a long time, just to make her hair look less malnourished. Resentment? Of course it was resentment. No girl could remain indifferent after being ridiculed by a boy, right? Shi Yao had always thought that she would hold a grudge against him until the very end, but after hearing Lin Jiej's apology, she realized that those grudges weren't as indestructible as she had thought them to be. Chapter 6:14. Perhaps that was just how humans were most of the time. Grudges and resentment were nothing more than the grievances in their hearts. Lin Jiej's apologies had already made the pent-up anger in her heart dissipate into thin air. Shi Yao was never one to haggle over minor matters. She was a person who preferred to settle grudges and love without hesitation. After all, life was a bitter one. And if one was too fixated on trivial matters, it would only make one unhappy. Thus, when Liang Mumu betrayed her, she didn't hesitate to sever all ties between them. As such, when Lin Jiej apologized to her sincerely, she also chose to head over to his side without any hesitation. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao said, "Well, let's just let bygones be bygones." Lin Jiej really didn't think that Shi Yao would forgive him so easily. He asked in astonishment, "Bygones?" Shi Yao nodded. "That's right." Lin Jiej still found it hard to believe. "You mean to say that those matters are in the past? You don't mind and get angry anymore?" Shi Yao nodded her head vehemently. That's right. I'm magnanimous enough to accept your apology and choose to forgive you." Lin Jiej still felt that happiness had come too suddenly, as if he was dreaming. He pinched himself, and when he felt a bone-piercing pain, he suppressed his joy and asked, "Are you really able to stop being angry and not mind it anymore? What do you mean by that?" Shi Yao was a little displeased by Lin Jiej's repeated questions. She puffed up her cheeks and asked, "Do I look like a petty person to you?" He had only asked a few more questions, so why did it turn into him thinking that she was a petty person? Lin Jiej really couldn't understand Shi Yao's thoughts, but his innate desire to live made him reply without any hesitation, "No. In my eyes, you've always been a generous, bright, and gluttonous person." Generous, bright, and gluttonous. What kind of description was that? But she liked it. Shi Yao's eyes immediately curled up into a smile. I also think that I'm a generous, bright, and gluttonous person." Lin Jiej's expression didn't change much, but there was a very faint hint of a smile at the corner of his eyes and lips. It was early autumn in Beijing. When the night wind blew, it was somewhat chilly. Shi Yao had left the house in a hurry, so she was only wearing a thin shirt. A gust of wind blew past, causing her to shiver uncontrollably. She pointed to the road not too far away and asked, "Can we leave now?" Lin Jiej nodded. Shi Yao turned around impatiently. Just as she was about to raise her leg, Lin Jiej suddenly spoke up once more. "Now, since we've chosen to go back to the past, let's just pretend that those unhappy events never happened from now on, all right?" Shi Yao halted her footsteps and turned around. His eyes were very beautiful. In the darkness of the night, there was a faint glimmer of light. Immersed in Lin Jiej's gaze, Shi Yao fell into a daze for a moment before nodding her head lightly. "All right then. Let's forget about those unpleasant memories and pretend that they never happened." Then, Lin Jiej took a step forward and extended his hand toward Shi Yao. "It's nice to meet you, Shi Yao. Even though this isn't our first meeting, I look forward to meeting you." Chapter 6:15. If there was something in this world that could spread faster than the speed of light, Shi Yao thought that it must be gossip. She thought that the events that happened tonight would only spread on the school forum the next day. But little did she expect that by the time she returned to Lin Jiej's house, she would be lying on her bed after a shower, and the forum had already exploded. Those who had been called over by He Tian had secretly recorded a video of the incident and posted it on the school forum. In an instant, those who were criticizing her and Lin Jiege had all sided with Qin Yiran. Shi Yao was already very sleepy, but she still suppressed her sleepiness and scrolled through the school forum to take a look at how badly Qin Yiran was being criticized. There were quite a few who were criticizing Qin Yiran, but as Shi Yao looked around, she realized that there were even more who were praising Lin Jiege. I told you my Adonis won't be cuckolded. That person who said that my Adonis is cuckolded, please step forward. So my husband really bought a house in a place where every inch of land is worth its weight in gold? Previous poster, please watch your words. Your so-called husband is actually Shi Yao's fiancé, and a fiancé to boot. Furthermore, he's already living with her. Who knows, they might even have a baby next year. By the time Shi Yao graduates from university, the baby might already be old enough to be a housekeeper. Shi Yao was still gleeful when she saw the first sentence. Not only did Lin Jiege buy a house in a place where every inch of land is worth its weight in gold, he even owned a villa of more than 1,000 square meters in the suburbs, an office building at 2nd Ring Road, a 9-digit savings account and many funds and stocks. Not only that, she even knew the passwords to Lin Jiege's bank card and safety deposit box. However, upon seeing the final sentence, Shi Yao nearly choked on the milk she was drinking. The most she could accept was that he was going to be her fiancé. As for the part about him having a baby next year, that was pure bullshit. Of course, the part about her graduating from university and having a baby was the most bullshit of all. She and Lin Jiege were clearly innocent, so how could they possibly have a baby? These people sure are enjoying the show. Shi Yao had wanted to see Qin Yiran get scolded to cheer her up, but in the end, she backed out of the forum with a stifled heart. Putting down her empty glass of milk, she climbed onto her bed, switched off the lights and went to sleep. At the same time, in Ji University's male dormitory, everyone had fallen asleep, but Han Jing was still awake. He stared at the video of Lin Jiege speaking to the lie detector on the school forum over and over again. Shi Yao is my fiancé. Shi Yao is staying at my house. He had lost count of how many times he had read it, but at some point, the scene of Qin Yiran walking up to him with an umbrella while he was escorting Shi Yao back to her dormitory under the heavy rain a few days ago suddenly surfaced in his mind. Shi Yao has a fiancé. They were engaged 6 years ago. It's been more than a year, but she didn't tell you about this at all. The next day, it was time for Lin Jiege to head to the hospital for a checkup. Once again, Shi Yao drove Lin Jiege there. After a series of complicated examinations, 2 hours had already passed. The results of the checkup were good, and Lin Jiege was completely fine. However, to be on the safe side, the doctor still reminded Lin Jiege not to exert too much force on his right hand for the next month. By the time they left the hospital, it was already noon. The famished Shi Yao was just about to discuss what to eat with Lin Jiege when Lin Jiege's phone rang. Chapter 6:16. Lin Jiege took out his phone and took a look at the screen before answering the call. Not bothering to avoid Shi Yao, he spoke into the phone right in front of her. What's wrong? After which he replied with, oh, I got it, before hanging up. He turned to Shi Yao and said, we have to make a trip to China World Hotel. Grandfather and the others are waiting for us there for lunch. Grandfather? Shi Yao exclaimed in astonishment. Why would grandfather suddenly call us for lunch? I'm not too sure. Lin Jiege was equally confused, but he didn't think too much into it. He quickly added, perhaps it's because grandfather hasn't seen us for a long time, so he just wants to see us. Shi Yao's favorite restaurant was Beijing World Hotel, so she didn't even think about whether there would be any problems. She nodded her head in agreement and nodded before heading to her car. Before getting into the car, Shi Yao seemed to have thought of something, and she turned to Lin Jiege and said, it's a good thing that my face was allergic yesterday. If it was today, grandfather Lin would surely ask me non-stop. What's more, I'm wearing a long dress today. If grandfather Lin were to see the wound on my leg, he would surely grumble about it for a long time. Noticing the look on Shi Yao's face as if she had struck the jackpot, Lin Jiege's expression softened a little. Without saying a word, he opened the car door for her. After she was seated, he walked around the front of the car and got in. After fastening their seatbelts, he stepped on the accelerator and drove to China World Hotel. The hospital wasn't too far away from China World Hotel. so it only took them 20 minutes to reach their destination. A moment after the car came to a halt, a waiter immediately walked over and opened the door for them. In order to save time, Lin Jiej didn't park the car. Instead, he tossed the car keys to the doorman and followed the waiter up the stairs with Shi Yao. When they arrived at the entrance of the suite, Lin Jiej and Shi Yao realized that Grandfather Lin had booked a suite that could accommodate more than 20 people. Did Grandfather call for someone else for lunch? Shi Yao chased after Lin Jiej and asked the question in her mind. At that moment, the door to the suite was pushed open by the waiter. Without waiting for Lin Jiej to speak, Shi Yao raised her head and looked into the compartment. In the massive room, other than Grandpa Lin and Auntie Sun, Lin Jiej's parents, aunt, uncle, and sis Jai were also there. Other than that, Shi Yao's parents, aunt and son, Shi Yao's cousin Gu Nanxiang were also present. What was going on? Why are the elders of the two families here? In a daze, Shi Yao turned to look at Lin Jiej, who was standing beside her. Just like her, Lin Jiej also had a perplexed look on his face. However, compared to Luo Ruoxin, whose thoughts were written all over her face, his expression was still relatively calm. Jiej Zhao, you're here? The one who spoke up was Lin Jiej's aunt Lin Gunan. Seeing that the two of them were still standing at the entrance, she gestured to the remaining 2 seats at the table and urged them, "Come in and take a seat. What are you standing at the entrance for?" Shi Yao and Lin Jiej entered the suite one after another. Lin Jiej simply greeted Shi Yao's parents, aunt, and Gu Nanxiang politely. Chapter 6:17. After Shi Yao was done with her greetings, she discreetly asked Gu Nanxiang, "Why are you all here too?" Gu Nanxiang, who was in the midst of playing his game, raised his head and replied to Lin Jiej with a brother-in-law. After which, without even sparing Shi Yao a glance, he continued playing his game as he replied, "How would I know? I went to your place with my mom, but before my butt could even touch the sofa, I was already called here, Shi Yao. I knew that people who handed in blank papers for exams were unreliable. Shi Yao, why didn't you hand in blank papers during the college entrance examination too?" Gu Nanxiang shot a sideways glance at Shi Yao and replied, "You were the one who told me not to." Shi Yao. She really did warn him that if he dared to hand in blank papers for the college entrance examination, she'd make him spend every day and night with his papers. Rendered speechless by Gu Nanxiang's words, Shi Yao ignored him and walked past him. She turned to Lin Jai and asked softly, "Sis Jai, what's going on today?" Right after Shi Yao finished her words, Grandpa Lin spoke up, "All right, everyone is here. Auntie Sun, get the waiters to serve the dishes. As for me, I'll talk about the main reason why I gathered everyone here today." Out of respect, Shi Yao didn't continue speaking to Lin Jai. Instead, she straightened her back and looked at Grandpa Lin. As if he had just received a joyous occasion, Grandpa Lin chuckled and continued, "Before Yao Yao and Jiej were born, Yao Yao's grandfather and I had already decided on their marriage. Later on, I got separated from Yao Yao's grandfather, and we never contacted each other. It was only 6 years ago that we met again, and it was also around that time that Yao Yao and Jiej's marriage was officially decided. I believe that everyone should be aware of the situation now, so I won't elaborate any further. I'll just get to the main point." As Grandpa Lin spoke, he turned to Shi Yao's parents and said, "Actually, Yao Yao is still young, and I was thinking of giving her a few more years of freedom. However, these 2 children have been living together behind our backs for a month now." Hearing those words, Shi Yao finally understood the purpose of this meal. So, the reason why Grandpa Lin gathered everyone here was to force them into a marriage? And this table full of people was simply a group of people trying to force her to marry. Right after Grandpa Lin said those words, Lin Jiej's mother, Zhang Wangui, frowned and said, "A month? How long has it been?" "Old Master Lin, isn't that so?" Lin Jiej's aunt Lin Gunan, who knows he might even have a child. Hearing those words, Shi Yao's heart skipped a beat. What was going on? Why was it that overnight, whether it was on the school forum or even during a meal, everyone was talking about her having a baby? Old Mr. Lin seemed to be very satisfied with Lin Gunan's maybe. He nodded with certainty. Yes, Gunan is right. So this is a big matter. Whether it's for Yao Yao or the child in Yao Yao's stomach, our family must give an explanation today. Wait. She was a virgin, how could she have a child in her stomach? Chapter 6:18. Lin Jiej's father, Lin Gubei, nodded in agreement. Yes, I agree with Dad. Lin Jiej's uncle, Xia Yang, nodded in agreement. Marriage is a must. Firstly, it's to take responsibility for Yao Yao, and secondly, it's to take responsibility for the child in Yao Yao's womb. No. Upon hearing the words child in her womb, once more, Shi Yao instinctively spoke up. But barely after she said that word, Lin Jiej's aunt, Lin Gunan, acted as if she hadn't heard Shi Yao at all and spoke up. That's right. In any case, they're already engaged, and it's only a matter of time before they get married. Besides, they can't allow Yao to wander around the academy with a pregnant belly. In order for the child in her womb to be born honorably, marriage is a must. If they don't get married, they won't even be able to get a birth permit. Am I right, sister-in-law? Shi Yao felt that there was no way she could wash away the fact that she was pregnant, so she spoke up once more. Just like before, she only said a single word before Lin Jiej's mother, Zhang Wangguo, took up Lin Gunan's words. Yes, Jiej has to take responsibility. I have no objections to that. We'll do as father says. Lin. Shi Yao spoke up once more, unwilling to give up. It was as if they had agreed on this beforehand. Yet again, she only managed to say a single word before Lin Jai interjected. Does that mean that I'm going to be an aunt soon? I still feel like a young lady. Grandpa Lin, does that mean that I'm going to be a great-grandfather soon? Time really flies, it really goes by quickly. Lin Gunan, Jai and Jiej's birth felt like it was only yesterday, but in the blink of an eye, Jiej's child is going to be born soon. Lin Gubei. It's really hard to get used to suddenly becoming a grandfather, don't you think so, honey? Zhang Wangguo calmly replied with an Shi Yao. What in the world is going on? No child, there's no child at all. Shi Yao was just about to speak up when Gu Nanxiang, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke up. Does that mean that I'm going to have a nephew soon? How exciting. Exciting my ass. Whose family are you from? Why are you dragging me down? Just as Shi Yao was done glaring at Gu Nanxiang's mother, who was also Shi Yao's biological aunt, Shi Miao spoke up. Aren't you stupid? That's not a nephew, it's a nephew. He's calling you uncle. I see. Gu Nanxiang scratched his head as he turned to Lin Jiej and chuckled. Congratulations, brother-in-law. Shi Yao stared blankly at Gu Nanxiang. This wasn't just holding them back, this was a blatant betrayal. Before Shi Yao could make up her mind, her mother had already spoken up. Does that mean that I'm going to be a grandmother soon? Shi Yao's father. Then I'm your grandfather? At this moment, Shi Yao was completely dumbfounded. Were they her biological parents? Shouldn't her daughter be angry and educated when she was pregnant? Why does he look so happy? Grandpa Lin. So, based on your words, it means that you don't have any objections to their marriage? Shi Yao's mother. No, it's just like what you said. They're bound to get married sooner or later. Besides, it's not our place to interfere in their relationship. Now that they've crossed the line, it's only a matter of time before they get married. Chapter 6:19. Shi Yao. Just what kind of world was this? She had seen people being forced to buy and sell, and she had heard of people being raped, but she was the one who was forced to get pregnant? Shi Yao took a deep breath to stabilize her crumbling heart before replying. But before she could say a single word, Grandpa Lin had already spoken up. Since the in-laws have no objections, shall we settle the matter of Yao Yao and Jiej's marriage? Shall we discuss the details of the wedding over dinner and wine? Xia Yang. Father-in-law is right. Jiej is the only successor of the Lin clan. And this marriage is a huge matter for the Lin clan. We have to think about it carefully. Zhang Wangguo. Since we're going to get married, we can't skip a single step. Lin Gunan. Sister-in-law is right. We have to go to the Lin clan to propose, present the betrothal gifts, get engaged, take the wedding photos, and hold the wedding ceremony. We can't skip a single step. Shi Yao's aunt, Big Sis Nan is right. We can't skip a single step, but Yao Yao's already pregnant. She won't look good in a wedding dress. Shi Yao's mother. That's why we have to hurry. If we don't hurry, I'll have to prepare Yao Yao's dowry as soon as possible. Lin Gubei. Although I don't advocate superstition, There are still some customs that need to be followed for good luck. Therefore, on the auspicious day we need to find a master to calculate when to get engaged, when to get married, and even when to start the wedding. We need to calculate all of these. Shi Yao's father. I have a friend's father, and he's a highly respected master. I'll contact him as soon as we get home. Grandpa Lin, it's too slow. We have to hurry. Shi Yao's father. Yes. Uncle Lin is right. I'll contact him after dinner. Lin Jai. It just so happens that I'm not that busy these days. I'll take care of the wedding then. By the way, Yao, do you want a Western-style wedding or a Chinese-style wedding? Finally, someone is willing to ask me. Shi Yao, who hadn't been able to say a single word all this while, started praising Lin Jai from top to bottom 800 times in her heart. Then she moved her lips. However, someone beat her to it and said, I like Chinese-style weddings. We can hold the wedding in Hengdian Studios. We can rent out the Qin Royal Palace. It'll be grand. The one who spoke was Lin Gunan. The one who spoke up next was Shi Yao's mother. But I think a Western-style wedding isn't too bad either. A white wedding gown is the dream of every girl in the world. Old Mr. Lin looked as if this was not a problem at all. That's easy. We can combine the East and the West. Jiang Wangue replied, in that case we'll have to make 2 sets of gowns for our wedding, a phoenix coronet and a wedding gown. I'll leave the wedding gown to Jai. She's very familiar with France, so we'll have to find the best designer to design it. Chapter 620. Shi Yao's favorite dishes were all on the table, but she wasn't in the mood to eat at all. Instead, she turned to the table full of people and said, Can you all listen to me for a moment? No one paid any attention to her. Everyone was still immersed in the details of the wedding, discussing it passionately. Shi Yao coughed heavily and raised her voice a little. About that. Still, no one paid any attention to her. Everyone had already moved from the details of the wedding to the naming of the child in her womb. Lin Gunan, 10 months of pregnancy sounds like a long time, but it's actually a very short period of time. We have to prepare clothes for the baby first. Shi Yao's mother, you're right. Once the baby is born, there'll be a lot of things to do. Confinement nannies, nursing, and most importantly, the baby's name. Grandpa Lin. We'll have to do it properly. Auntie Sun, remember to get me a Xinhua dictionary later on. I'll spend the entire night studying it. Shi Yao. I'm so angry, but I still have to maintain a smile before so many elders. Shi Yao took a deep breath, and then another deep breath before saying, There won't be a baby. Grandpa Lin. Many young people think that it's impossible for them to have a baby. But 2 months later, when their period is delayed, a human life is born. Lin Gunan, that's right. Yao, we mustn't learn from other girls. We have to give birth to the baby once we're pregnant. Shi Yao's aunt. How, I'm telling you, abortion isn't good for your body. You shouldn't go through with it. Besides, this is a human life we're talking about. If you kill a life, you'll incur the wrath of the heavens and lose your blessings. Shi Yao. Ah! She finally understood what it meant by, a bull's mouth doesn't match the ponytail. Everyone at the table was living in their own delusions. Shi Yao tried her best to suppress the rage in her body as she looked at everyone at the table one by one. Eventually, she turned her gaze to Lin Jiej and said, Hurry up and say something, Lin Jiej. To be honest, Lin Jiej really didn't expect that his grandfather would call him and Shi Yao over for dinner to put on such a show. To be honest, he was quite happy to enjoy such a scene. To have a table full of people forcing him to get married, this is truly a once-in-a-century stroke of luck. But as much as he wanted to enjoy himself, he couldn't afford to offend Soft Bun. Not to mention, Soft Bun was currently looking at him pitifully, making it hard for him to reject her request. Just what should he do in order to avoid ruining the entire table of godly assists and provoking Soft Bun at the same time? Lin Jiej. Seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't saying a word, Shi Yao spoke up once more with an aggrieved voice. Without any hesitation, Lin Jiej spoke up. Yao and I are still young, not to mention that Yao is still in school. Isn't it a little inappropriate for the both of you to talk about such things? A second after Lin Jiej said those words, Grandpa Lin bellowed furiously. What do you mean by inappropriate? What's wrong with it? No matter how I look at it, why do I feel that it's so suitable? Do you think it's appropriate? Almost without hesitation, everyone at the table stood in line and said, It's suitable no matter how you look at it. Even Auntie Sun was nodding her head in agreement. Very suitable. Young Master and Miss Sure are truly a match made in heaven. Chapter 621. I also think that it's suitable, but I can't afford to offend Soft Bun. However, if I were to reject him once more and act hesitant, my grandfather would surely think that I'm unwilling to marry Soft Bun. By then, my grandfather would surely fly into a rage at me, and Soft Bun wouldn't be able to blame me. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej spoke up once more. It's not a matter of whether it's suitable or not. He intentionally paused for a moment before continuing. It's just that I think that Yao Yao might be a little unsociable in the academy after getting married all of a sudden. Before Lin Jiej could finish his sentence, Grandpa Lin had already tossed the chopsticks in his hand onto the table. Glaring at Lin Jiej, he bellowed furiously, Brat, don't think that I'm a fool just because I'm old. Let me tell you, I know exactly what you're up to. Do you think that I'll be fooled just because your words sound as good as a song? You keep saying that you won't leave Yao Yao's side, but on the surface you're just using her as a shield, aren't you? Grandfather, what are you talking about? How could I possibly use Yao Yao as a shield? Lin Jiej knew his grandfather's personality very well, and he knew that his rejection of their proposal to force him into a marriage had already angered his grandfather. If he were to reject them once more, even if he were to speak the truth, it would only be a cover-up in his grandfather's eyes. So with a sincere look on his face, he continued. Besides, it's impossible for Yao Yao to get pregnant. What do you mean by that? Grandpa Lin was just about to bring his teacup to his lips when he heard Lin Jiej's words. He immediately flew into a rage and smashed the teacup onto the floor. What do you mean by impossible for Yao Yao to get pregnant? You're not going to take responsibility just because it's impossible for her to get pregnant? Lin Gunan, that's right. Jiej, you're going too far. Yao Yao is a pure lady, and she shared a bed with you for an entire month. How can you go back on your word just because you're wearing pants? Shared a bed? Going back on your word just because you're wearing pants? Sure Yao felt as if her head was about to explode. They didn't even take off their pants, so how can you go back on your word just because you're wearing pants? She had lived under the same roof as Lin Jiej for a month, not on the same bed. Old Mr. Lin seemed to agree with Lin Gunan. Gunan is right. This rebellious brat is simply trying to anger me to death. Lin Gubei hurriedly said, Dad, calm down, don't ruin your health because of this bastard. As Lin Gubei spoke, he called out to Zhang Wangui, wife. Zhang Wangui calmly raised her head and shot a cold glance at Lin Jiej. Even though her words were concise, there was an invisible pressure emanating from her. Jiej, how did your mother educate you? Mommy remembers mommy saying that if you dare to do something, you must dare to take responsibility. Xiaoyang also spoke up as well, but his words were directed toward Shi Yao's family. In-laws, please calm down. Jiej is still young, and he's still in his rebellious phase. He'll take responsibility. We'll stand up for Yao. Chapter 622. Fearing that Lin Jiej's fist would land on Lin Jiej, Shi Yao hurriedly spoke up. That's not it. You've misunderstood Lin Jiej. He's not the kind of person you think he is. He doesn't want to take responsibility for his actions. Pui, what in the world is she talking about? What do you mean refusing to take responsibility for my actions? He clearly didn't do anything at all. Are you sure you're just trying to defend yourself? Shi Yao cursed herself in her heart before she hurriedly spoke up. No, that's not it. Nothing happened between us at all. Lin Jiej knew that there were some words that no one would get angry or doubt if Shi Yao were to say it out loud, but there were some words that no one would think the same if he were to say it out loud, so when Shi Yao was speaking up to this point, he immediately added on, That's right, it's just like what Yao Yao said. Nothing happened between us at all. Back then I was injured, and Yao Yao was worried about leaving me alone, so she stayed at my place for a month to take care of me. It's just that simple. That was all Lin Jiej wanted to say. But in the instant he said those words, a thought suddenly flashed across his mind. He turned to Shi Yao and added, Right? Yao Yao? He had intentionally lowered his voice to a whisper, making it seem as if he was making up a bunch of nonsense to threaten Shiryao into colluding with him to make a confession. Knowing the truth, Shiryao naturally didn't notice anything amiss with Lin Jiej's words. So, after hearing Lin Jiej's question, she immediately nodded her head vehemently and said, "That's right, that's right. Back then Lin Jiej was injured, so I went to take care of him. It's just that simple. As for the rest, you're really thinking too much into it. You're really thinking too much into it." Shiryao was only trying to emphasize that everyone was thinking too much into it. But what she didn't know was that in the eyes of the crowd, it looked as if she was being threatened by Lin Jiej. Before Shiryao could finish her words, Lin Jiej could already see that his grandfather was already on the verge of exploding. In order to infuriate his grandfather further, he added, "See? I'm not the only one who said that Yao Yao wouldn't get pregnant. Even Yao Yao said that you're thinking too much into it. Do you think that I'm blind and didn't see anything? Don't think I don't know what you just said, right? Yao Yao is threatening Yao Yao." Elder Lin's chest was heaving up and down in anger. He pointed at Lin Jiej a few times, seemingly wanting to berate him, but he couldn't think of any words at all. Instead, his face turned red from anger. Seeing this sight, Shiryao hurriedly said, "Grandpa Lin, please calm down. Don't let your anger affect your health. Yao, I know that you feel wronged. Don't worry, Grandpa will definitely avenge you today." Chapter 623. Uncle Lin, this matter might be a little too sudden. I don't think that's what those two kids mean. That's right. Old master, it's been so many years since they were engaged to each other, so it's only a matter of time before they get married. There's no need to rush. This isn't a problem of whether I'm in a rush or not. This is a problem with Lin Jiej's character. You all saw how frightened Yao Yao was when he threatened her earlier. She didn't even dare to breathe, only going along with his words. What is there to say about yes? What's there to yes about? I'm going to teach him a lesson today, but he's telling me that he's injured? Where is he injured? I'm going to beat him up for real today. Dad! I'll punish him to face the wall and reflect on his wrongdoings. No, I'll make him kneel on the cobblestones in the courtyard. I'll make him kneel for an entire day and night. No one is to give him anything to eat. It's only right for you to teach your son a lesson, and it's only right for me to teach my grandson a lesson. If I don't beat him up today, I won't be his grandfather. Besides, even if there's really nothing going on between him and Yao Yao, a good lady like Yao Yao has been living in the same house with him for a month now. Her reputation and whatnot should be tarnished by now. No matter what, he has to take responsibility for it, right? For a moment, the room that was originally filled with joy and happiness instantly became a foul atmosphere. The voices of persuasion and scolding entered Shiryao's ears, leaving her dizzy. In the end, when she saw Grandpa Lin really swinging his cane at Lin Jiej, she immediately stood in front of Lin Jiej and shouted, "Grandpa Lin, don't hit him." Grandpa Lin quickly stopped his attack and glared at Lin Jiej furiously. "Come at me if you dare. What kind of man are you to hide behind a little girl?" As Grandpa Lin spoke, he changed his direction to beat Lin Jiej up. Shiryao quickly followed Grandpa Lin's lead and said, "Grandpa Lin, it's not that Lin Jiej doesn't want to marry me. It's that I don't want to marry him." Shiryao's words only served to infuriate Grandpa Lin further. "Very well, Lin Jiej. You sure have grown up now. Just what did you use to threaten Yao Yao to make her take all the blame? My gosh, why am I so unclear? She was the one who didn't want to marry Lin Jiej." "That's not it, Grandpa Lin. You really can't blame Lin Jiej for this matter. I wasn't threatened by him at all, and he treats me very well. Besides, it's also under my request that he told you all not to get married yet. You have really misunderstood him." The more Shiryao defended Lin Jiej, the more certain Grandpa Lin was that she was being threatened by Lin Jiej. This time, Grandpa Lin was so furious that he couldn't even speak anymore. He raised his walking stick and smashed it down on Lin Jiej's right arm. That won't do. Lin Jiej's right arm had just recovered, and the doctor had reminded him to take good care of it in the near future. If the crutch were to strike it, wouldn't Lin Jiej be injured once more? What if he was crippled after getting injured so frequently? But no matter how she explained, Grandpa Lin refused to listen. In a moment of desperation, Shiryao could only resort to stalling for time and said, "Grandpa Lin, You two can continue discussing the wedding." Seeing that her words were unable to appease Grandpa Lin at all, Shi Yao quickly turned to Lin Jiej and said, "Hurry up and apologize to Grandpa Lin. Tell him that you have no objections and let them continue discussing the wedding." Chapter 624. Lin Jiej shot a glance at Grandpa Lin, and as if in a fit of pique, he moved his lips but no words came out. Grandpa Lin grew even more furious. Shi Yao grew even more anxious. "Lin Jiej, hurry up and say it. Lin Jiej." Under Shi Yao's urging, Lin Jiej, who had been itching to say "I have no objections, and I'll go along with your arrangements from the very start," reluctantly raised his head and said indignantly to Grandpa Lin, "I never said that I don't want to get married. What I've been trying to say all along is that you should respect Yao Yao's choice and respect the truth of the matter." But to Grandpa Lin's ears, his words sounded like he was being unreasonable. Grandpa Lin's face reddened in anger. "That scoundrel." Dad, calm down, Jiej. It's not that I want to lecture you, but you're really too immature. ATM machine, are you tired of living?" "Grandpa Lin, don't get angry. Let me talk to him." As Shi Yao consoled Grandpa Lin along with the others, she discreetly tugged on Lin Jiej's clothes and whispered into his ear, "Hurry up and give in to Grandpa Lin. We can discuss the rest later on. There's no way we can talk about it today. No matter what you say, they won't believe you. If we continue to clash head-on like this and anger Grandpa Lin, it'll be a huge loss for us." Seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't going to say anything, Shi Yao tugged on his sleeves and urged him once more, "Lin Jiej, hurry up." Perhaps it was out of anxiety, but a thin layer of sweat had already formed on the tip of Shi Yao's nose. Listening to her soft voice, Lin Jiej stared at her for a moment, and as if he really couldn't do anything to her, he could only reply with a helpless, "All right." After which, he finally relented and raised his eyelids to look at Grandpa Lin. "All right, I was in the wrong earlier. I'll listen to Yao Yao and do whatever she says." It was just a moment ago that Grandpa Lin was still trembling in rage, but upon hearing Lin Jiej's words, a smile immediately blossomed on his face. As if nothing had happened at all, he turned to the crowd and said, "Why is everyone still standing? Come sit down." Under Auntie Sun's support, Grandpa Lin was the first to take a seat, and the others quickly followed suit. "The food should be eaten while it's hot," Old Master Lin said as he picked up his chopsticks. After taking a bite, he asked, "Where were we just now?" Auntie Sun replied, "Old Mister, we were talking about naming the child." Old Mr. Lin nodded. Yes. Continue. Naming a child depends on the date of birth, right? It's better to be named after the child is born, right? But it's not bad to think of some words in advance. It might come in handy when the time comes. There are still a lot of troublesome things when you have a child. Diapers, milk, baby bottles, cribs. No matter how doubtful Shi Yao was, she didn't dare to voice her opinion anymore. Chapter 625. Even though this forced marriage had come without any warning, even though the thought of marrying him still hadn't crossed her mind yet, but as long as she didn't reject this marriage, it meant that there was still hope for him. To be honest, he did like her more than he had imagined, but he had never thought of marrying her so soon. But when his grandfather used the fact that he had been living with her for a month as an excuse to force him into marrying her, he realized that he didn't have the slightest intention of objecting to it. In fact, he even thought that it would be great if he could really get married just like that. Lin Jiej was truly overjoyed, but he didn't dare to show any flaws. So he tried his best to control the emotions on his face, trying his best to appear as calm as possible. Calmly, he picked up his chopsticks and picked up one of Shi Yao's favorite dishes before placing it into her bowl. The meal lasted for 4 whole hours, and by the time it was over it was already 3:30 p.m. It had been a long time since Shi Yao had returned home. As the next day was the long National Day holiday, she left together with her parents, aunt and Gu Nanqiang. Initially, they had booked a chauffeur from the Lin family to send Shi Yao and her family home. But for some reason, Grandpa Lin requested for a chauffeur at the last minute and had Lin Jiej drive Shi Yao and her family home instead. After Lin Jiej drove Shi Yao and her family out of the Beijing World Hotel, Grandpa Lin didn't linger for long and immediately left. Auntie Sun left together with Grandpa Lin. While they were in the car, Auntie Sun recalled that the marriage between Lin Jiej and Shi Yao had been decided, so she turned to Grandpa Lin and said in delight, "Old Mister, congratulations. Miss Shi is going to become your real granddaughter-in-law." Hearing those words, not only did Grandpa Lin not beam with joy, his complexion turned cold instead. "Heh, that brat is really useless." Auntie Sun looked at Grandpa Lin in confusion and asked, "Old Mister, what do you mean by that? Shouldn't you be happy?" "Heh, Auntie Sun, you sure are a fool over the years. I was happy during the meal, but it was all an act." As old Mr. Lin spoke, he snorted coldly. "You people are still too young. Fortunately, I reacted quickly. Otherwise, Yao Yao would have left the Lin clan completely." Auntie Sun was even more confused. "No, old master, I'm really confused right now. Miss Shi was the one who persuaded young master to compromise with you, so why would you say that Miss Shi is leaving the Lin clan?" Grandpa Lin shot Auntie Sun a look that said, "It's really tiring to talk to you." After a while he said, "Can't you tell? Now it's not that that brat doesn't want to marry Yao Yao. It's Yao Yao who doesn't want to marry that brat. You say let him do it happily, right? Now you're getting your retribution, right? Your fiancé is about to fly away, right?" Speaking up to this point, Grandpa Lin sighed heavily. "I was the one who reacted quickly. If I hadn't lost my temper at the last moment and wanted to pummel that lad, Yao Yao would have probably told everyone at the table that she doesn't want to marry Lin Jiej anymore." Grandpa Lin sighed deeply once more. "Say, why is that bastard Lin Jiej so different from me? Over the past month, nothing has happened between him and Yao Yao. Sigh, what's done can't be undone." Grandpa Lin sighed for the third time, but before he could finish sighing, a thought suddenly struck him, and he turned to Auntie Sun and said, "Say, if I were to play some tricks and make them do that, what's done can't be undone, right?" Chapter 626. For a moment, Auntie Sun didn't quite catch the hint behind Grandpa Lin's words. "What do you mean?" "It's..." Grandpa Lin only said 2 words before falling silent. "Forget it, just pretend that I didn't ask you." As he said those words, he turned to look out of the window with a look of disdain for Auntie Sun's stupidity. Auntie Sun. To think that the young master doesn't take after Grandpa Lin. In her opinion, the young master takes after Grandpa Lin the most. The only use that brat Lin Jiej is to him is to marry Yao. If he can't even do that, then Grandpa Lin looked at the scenery outside the window, and with such thoughts in mind, he couldn't help but sigh deeply. "I can't think about it. The more I think about it, the more I despise this grandson of mine. But what can I do? I can't possibly stuff him back into his mother's womb. Since I can't stuff him back, I can't keep despising him either. It looks like as a grandfather, I'll have to step in and lend him a hand." With such thoughts in mind, Grandpa Lin frowned and fell into deep thought. Roughly 5 minutes later, he walked up to Auntie Sun and whispered some instructions to her. After hearing his words, Auntie Sun looked at Grandpa Lin uncertainly and asked, "Is this all right?" "Yes, of course. Just do as I say. First go and see when Yao Yao is on her period, and then calculate when she is ovulating. As long as I have a child by then, I will have no regrets in this life." As old Master Lin spoke, it was as if the matter had already become a reality. His originally cold face instantly turned into a cheerful one. By the time they returned to Shi Yao's house, it was already 6 in the evening. Shi Yao's mother warmly invited Lin Jiej to stay for dinner, and Lin Jiej agreed to it with a look of great hospitality. While Shi Yao's father helped Shi Yao's mother cook, Shi Yao was instructed by her mother to accompany Lin Jiej the entire time. By the time they were done eating, it was already 9 in the evening. While it wasn't too late, Lin Jiej still needed an hour's journey back to the city, so he tactfully requested to leave before 9:30. Shi Yao sent Lin Jiej down the stairs. Before Lin Jiej boarded the car, Shi Yao didn't forget to bring up the matter of them trying to force her into a marriage. "About that? What should we do about the marriage?" Ever since Lin Jiej had apologized to Shi Yao that night, he could sense that Shi Yao's view of him had changed a lot. There were some things that he couldn't wait to do, but he only dared to do it secretly. He was afraid that if he were to push her too far, he might end up making things worse. So, after hearing Shi Yao's words, he pondered for a moment before replying, "I haven't thought of a good solution yet, but you don't have to worry too much. I'll think of one eventually. Shi Yao thought that Lin Jiej's words made sense, so she nodded her head in agreement. A moment later, a thought suddenly came to her mind, and she said, right, didn't we agree to go to Chengdu together? You booked the tickets, didn't you? Can you send me the booking information? Lin Jiej replied with an He didn't think that there was anything wrong with Shi Yao's question, so he tapped on his phone and sent a message over. The flight is at 3 tomorrow afternoon. I'll wake up at noon tomorrow to pick you up. Chapter 627. See you tomorrow. Lin Jiej didn't linger any longer. After bidding Shi Yao farewell, he got into his car and left. It was only after Lin Jiej's car was out of sight that Shi Yao turned around and headed upstairs. After her shower, Shi Yao was just about to head straight to bed when she saw her phone by the bedside. A thought suddenly came to her mind, and she picked up her phone to look at the message Lin Jiej had sent her before he left. After seeing the flight number, she immediately went online to search for the price. After which she walked over to her study table, took out a small notebook from her bag, and made a note on it. The next day before midnight, Lin Jiej arrived at Shi Yao's apartment. As Shi Yao lived in the suburbs, it wasn't too far from the airport. Thus, it took him less than half an hour to reach the airport. After getting her boarding pass, passing through the security check, and arriving at the first-class lounge, it was only 12:30. Shi Yao and Lin Jiej had their lunch in the first-class lounge. Halfway through their lunch, Lin Jiej received a call. From the content of the call, Shi Yao could vaguely tell that it was a business partner of his. After lunch, Shi Yao wanted to head to the washroom, but seeing that Lin Jiej was still on the phone, she didn't disturb him. Walking out of the washroom cubicle, Shi Yao walked over to the sink. Just as she turned on the tap, the door of another cubicle behind her was pushed open, and a lady dressed in black walked out. Shi Yao took a quick glance at the lady, and she found her a little familiar. However, she didn't pay much attention to it. She quickly washed her hands and prepared to leave. However, in the instant that she turned around, the lady dressed in black happened to pass by her. As if telepathic, the two of them stopped in their tracks and turned to look at one another. In the instant that their eyes met, a hint of surprise flashed across Shi Yao's eyes. But in just a few short seconds, Shi Yao reined in her emotions, and as if she hadn't seen the other party, she prepared to leave. However, before she could take a step forward, Liang Mumu suddenly reached out to stop her. Shi Yao, it's been a while. Shi Yao glanced at Liang Mumu's hand, which was blocking her way, but she didn't say a word. Liang Mumu then asked, Shi Yao, are you free right now? Without any hesitation, Shi Yao instinctively tossed Liang Mumu the words, I'm busy. As if anticipating her reply, Liang Mumu interjected before she could say anything. I believe that you have a lot of things to say to me, right? I also have a lot to talk to you about. My flight is at 3:30. What about you? What time is it? But it's fine if you don't want to tell me. If you're not in a hurry to fly, let's have a chat. The words that Shi Yao wanted to say froze at the tip of her lips. She pondered for a few seconds before nodding lightly to Liang Mumu. Sure. Give me a moment then. After saying those words, Liang Mumu quickly turned on the tap and washed her hands. After which, she whipped out a napkin from her bag and wiped her hands clean before tossing the napkin into the dustbin. After which, she turned to Shi Yao and said, let's go. We'll find a place to talk. Without saying a word, Shi Yao followed Liang Mumu out of the washroom. There were many areas in the VIP lounge, but the massage chair area was completely empty. Liang Mumu casually pointed to it and asked, is that all right? Shi Yao had no objections to that. Chapter 628. Shi Yao's expression remained calm. Her emotions didn't fluctuate in the slightest due to Liang Mumu's sudden apology. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Liang Mumu apologized a few more times before continuing. I know that you must be blaming me right now, and I'm also blaming myself. It was a moment of muddle-headedness that led to me making so many mistakes. After I was sent back to my hometown by my uncle, I did blame you, but I realized that behind my blaming you, I was still thinking about the times we shared in the past. Yao. Liang Mumu's voice trailed off as she hesitated for a moment before asking weakly. Can I still call you Yao Yao? Sure. Yao pursed her lips, not replying to Liang Mumu's question. Liang Mumu's eyelids drooped down, and a moment later, she spoke up in disappointment. Are you unwilling to forgive me even if I apologize? I know that it's hard for you to believe me after what I've done, but Yao, do you know that I was blinded by greed? I really know that I was in the wrong. I shouldn't have. Before she could finish her words, tears began flowing down Liang Mumu's cheeks. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I really regret it. Yao, as long as you're willing to forgive me, I'm willing to do anything for you. If you still harbor any hatred in your heart, you can hit me or scold me. I'll take it all. I just want us to return to how we were before. I know that what I'm saying isn't very trustworthy. When I was in the countryside, I fell seriously ill and nearly lost my life. It was my aunt who found out about it and brought me back. At the brink of death, I realized that what I wanted in the past wasn't what I really wanted. What I have is what I truly care about. I was thinking that I should go out for a walk and adjust my mental state before coming back to apologize to you and beg for your forgiveness. But since I met you today, I thought that Liang Mumu's words were filled with sincerity. However, Sure Yao's thoughts had already drifted far away. Both of them were apologies, but Lin Jie's apology that night had made her feel touched, relieved. Yet, Liang Mumu's apology at this moment made her feel an indescribable disgust. In truth, she didn't want to continue listening, but just as she was about to interrupt Liang Mumu's words, she suddenly recalled something that had happened in the first semester. That day was Mother's Day. She had been drunk by Liang Mumu the night before, and when she woke up the next day, Liang Mumu had brought Jiang Wangui and Lin Jie with her. She knew that Liang Mumu was there to catch her adultery, but she had Jiang Yu prepare in advance and Liang had failed. Liang Mumu had failed. Following which, Liang Jie had told Lin Jie, however, what she didn't know was that Lin Jie had already found out about this matter. That night, Lin Jie used the excuse that she owed him a meal to look for her to treat him to a meal. After the meal, he brought her to a KTV, and his two roommates tried their best to cheer her up. On the way back to the dormitory, he bought a bottle of water, but before he could say anything, he dropped it on the floor and tore his clothes. Actually, Chapter 629. Sure Yao, there are some things just like this bottle of mineral water on the ground. Once it shatters and the water spills, it's impossible for it to return to its original state. There are some things just like this jacket in my hand. Even if it's torn, it'll still be able to be worn after some mending. It was only after she returned to her dormitory room that she finally understood the meaning behind his words. She had replied to his message, and when she realized that she had guessed correctly, he was indeed trying to coax her, and for an instant she felt very touched and warm. Back then she had even mocked him. If she remembered correctly, she had sent him a very long message, saying that his way of coaxing others was a little coquettish on the inside. She even said that he would never be able to return to his original state once the glass bottle shattered and the water spilled. In the end, she even told him gleefully that it was fortunate that she was smart. If it had been anyone else, they wouldn't have been able to figure out what he was doing. Back then, she truly thought that she had understood the meaning behind his words. Later on, when he asked her if there was anything else she wanted to say, her heart ached for the water, and she spouted a bunch of nonsense, saying that 24 renminbi of water could buy you a lot of delicious food. Eventually, he replied with "It's getting late, you should go to bed." And that ended the conversation that night. It wasn't until today that she finally realized that the reason why he had questioned her that night was because she had only understood the first half of what he had said. She hadn't understood the second half of what he had said. The first half of his sentence, smashing the bottle of mineral water, was referring to Liang Mumu, and the second half, even if the clothes were to be torn, they could still be worn after some mending, was referring to himself. So from that moment on, Lin Jie had already been regretting, feeling guilty, and vexed over the vicious words he had said to Liang Mumu. An indescribable warmth suddenly crept into Sure Yao's heart. Paying no heed to Liang Mumu's words, Sure Yao suddenly spoke up softly, Indeed, there are some people who can never return to the past, but there are some people who can start from the beginning again. Shi Yao's voice was a little soft, so Liang Mumu didn't hear her clearly. Thus, the words at the tip of her tongue stopped and she asked, "Yao, what did you say?" Immersed in her own thoughts, Shi Yao ignored her. Liang Mumu spoke once more. Even though she had no idea what Liang Mumu had just said to her, she could roughly guess what it was. She stared into Liang Mumu's eyes and replied nonchalantly, "I said, he can go back, but you can't." Liang Mumu frowned. "What do you mean? Yao, do you mean that you still won't forgive me?" In contrast to Liang Mumu's shock, Shi Yao was as calm as still water. "Liang Mumu, do you think that I'm only good at eating? That I don't know anything at all? I know that you didn't accidentally let Grandpa Lin know that Lin Jiej was going to cancel our engagement. I also know that you intentionally brought up Han Jing's name in Grandpa Lin's ward so that Grandpa Lin would misunderstand me. I also know that you were the one who arranged for me to meet Lin Jiej in the elevator when you invited me out for a meal at SKP back then." Chapter 631. As Shi Yao said those words, Liang Mumu's tear-stained face began to tremble uncontrollably. Shi Yao knew that Liang Mumu had been shocked by her words, and she wasn't able to say anything for the time being. Thus, she maintained her unhurried tone and continued. "I also know that from 6 years ago, from the very start, you've never treated me as a friend." So when Liang Mumu apologized so passionately earlier, she must have taken her for a fool once more. 6 years ago, Liang Mumu had pretended to be good friends with her, but in truth she had been lurking by her side, waiting for an opportunity to kill her in a single move. Now that her plan had failed, she was using the excuse of getting back together with Liang Mumu to complain tearfully to her. She must have felt that Lin Jiej was treating her differently from before, so she wanted to make use of her to get closer to him. But it was a pity that Liang Mumu had still underestimated her. She had been foolish once, but that was a mistake that everyone made. However, that didn't mean that she would continue to be foolish like that, so there's really no need for you to apologize to me. You and I both know what you're thinking behind your apology. Shi Yao lowered her eyelids. It's not like I didn't give you a chance. On the night of Mother's Day, I intentionally pretended to be drunk to give you a chance. But you didn't want it. You insisted on doing it. That day, when you appeared in the hotel room with Auntie Lin and Sis Jai, I already knew that you and I. Shi Yao suddenly raised her head, and her tone became much sharper than before. The next time we meet, we'll be mortal enemies. Liang Mumu's face immediately paled. She really didn't expect that her humble apology would fail to win Shi Yao's forgiveness. She was clearly a foolish existence. Why did she suddenly become so foreign to her? It was so foreign that she felt like she had never truly understood Shi Yao before. After saying everything that needed to be said, Shi Yao stared at Liang Mumu, who was slowly unraveling her disguise, and she felt that the current Liang Mumu was no longer as disgusting as before. However, this didn't have much to do with her anymore. It was about time for her to leave. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao said, "I've said everything that needs to be said. If there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave." Without waiting for Liang Mumu's response, Shi Yao had already stood up. In Liang Mumu's eyes, her nonchalant and leisurely actions seemed to be filled with mockery. Having failed in her scheme, Liang Mumu was already filled with resentment, and seeing Shi Yao behaving in such a manner only served to further enrage her. "Shi Yao, you were criticizing me earlier, saying that I've been harboring evil intentions whenever I'm by your side. But what about you? Aren't you the same as me? They both have ulterior motives." Chapter 632. I was serious when I told you that I wanted to annul my engagement with Lin Jiej. And it's also true that I don't like Lin Jiej. I have my own life and I have someone I want to love. At this point, Shi Yao realized that she had said too much, so she quickly shut her mouth. A moment later she lowered her gaze and smiled. "Forget it. There's no point in telling you all this anyway." Just a moment ago, Shi Yao had stopped speaking, and in the next moment, she was already walking forward. After hanging up the call, Lin Jiej turned around to look at the dining table behind him, but Shi Yao wasn't there. Thinking that Shi Yao had probably gone to the washroom, Lin Jiej pulled out a chair and sat down. Roughly 10 minutes later, seeing that Shi Yao wasn't back yet, he took out his phone and gave her a call. When the call connected, he realized that Shi Yao's phone was still in her bag on the chair. She hadn't taken it with her. Even if she had gone to the washroom, wasn't this taking a little too long? Lin Jiej waited for a while longer, but there was still no sign of her returning. So, he gestured for a waitress and had her keep an eye on his and Shi Yao's belongings. After that, he got up and began walking around in search of Shi Yao. He eventually found his way to the entrance of the washroom. Just as he was about to grab a waitress to help him check on the situation in the washroom, he caught sight of someone dressed in the same color as Shi Yao in the massage chair area not too far away. That person was seated on the chair, revealing only the color of her clothes. Lin Jiej decided to give it a try, but before he could even enter the massage chair area, he would see Liang Mumu sitting on the massage chair. Liang Juxi's cousin. Didn't she return to the countryside? Why would she be in Beijing? Lin Jiej frowned, following which, he saw the person dressed in the same color as Shi Yao stand up. He really tried hugging her. It's really Shi Yao. But why would she be together with Liang Juxi's cousin? Could it be that the two of them happened to bump into each other and got into a conflict? With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej subconsciously raised his leg and began walking toward the entrance. As he got closer, he could hear what the person inside was saying. Liang Mumu mentioned his name. You told me that you wanted to annul your engagement with Lin Jiej, but what about now? Did you break off the engagement? Don't think that I don't know that the Lin clan is already preparing for your marriage to Lin Jiej. Is there something wrong with Liang Juxi's cousin? What did it have to do with her whether the engagement was annulled or not? Even if he did, he wouldn't even look at her, okay? He hastened his footsteps, but before he could reach Shi Yao and Liang Mumu, Shi Yao suddenly spoke up. Believe it or not, I've never lied to you before. Did Soft Bun feel a little sad when she said those words? After all, she had once treated Liang Juxi's cousin as a friend, but who hasn't been fed to a dog? Lin Jiej thought that he would have to coax Shi Yao later on. But before he could make up his mind, Shi Yao's lips suddenly moved once more. Back then, I told you that I really wanted to cancel my engagement with Lin Jiej. And it's also true that I don't like Lin Jiej. I have a life that I want to lead. And I have someone that I want to love. Chapter 633. He knew that she wanted to call off the engagement with him back then, and he also knew that she didn't like him all this while. However, that last sentence she said was that she also had someone she wanted to like. Even though it was just that she wanted to like him, Lin Jiej still felt as if someone had stabbed a fist into his heart, and a heavy pain welled up within him. It was no wonder she rejected him when he confessed to her. It was no wonder she told me that she wanted to call off the engagement with him. It turned out that she already had a man she liked. Shi Yao continued to speak, but Lin Jiej didn't pay attention to her. It was only when he heard footsteps coming from inside that he finally snapped out of his daze. He was here to look for her, but for some reason, he was a little afraid of seeing her. So before she could notice him, he quickly turned around and left. Lin Jiej didn't pay attention to where he was going. All he knew was that by the time he came back to his senses, he was already standing at the entrance of the men's washroom, and he had nearly pushed open the door to the ladies' washroom. He quickly retracted his hand and quickly walked into the men's restroom. He randomly found a cubicle and entered. The moment he closed the door, he leaned against the cubicle's door. He tilted his head upward and stared at the ceiling of the washroom for a while. For some reason, his eyes felt a little sore and painful. He didn't know how long he had been standing in this position like a statue. All he knew was that he was jolted out of his daze by the sudden knocking on the cubicle door behind him. Brother inside, your phone has been ringing nonstop. Lin Jiej didn't say a word. He lowered his head and took out his phone, only to see a row of missed calls. All of them were from Shi Yao. Soon, Shi Yao's caller ID appeared on the screen once more. He stared at the screen for a while longer, but he didn't pick up the call. Instead, he switched his phone to silent mode and stuffed it back into his pocket. Maintaining his previous posture, he leaned against the door for a while longer before he slowly straightened his body, opened the door behind him and walked out. Standing in front of the sink, Lin Jiej glanced at his reflection in the mirror, and he could clearly see that his eyes were slightly reddened. He turned on the faucet, grabbed a handful of cold water and washed his face. Then he looked in the mirror again and smiled. After making sure his face wasn't as stiff as before, he grabbed 2 pieces of tissue, wiped the water off his face and hands and walked out of the bathroom. With a single glance he saw Shi Yao standing in front of the French window, anxiously trying to call him over the phone. He stopped in his tracks and stared at her for a while before he lifted his feet again and walked over. When he stood in front of her, she sensed that someone was approaching. She looked up, and when she saw him clearly, the anxious expression on her face immediately relaxed. "Where did you go?" "We're about to board the plane. I've called you so many times but you didn't pick up." "I see." Hearing Shi Yao's words, Lin Jiej took out his phone from his pocket and took a look at it. Then with an indifferent tone he said, "I accidentally muted my phone. I was in the washroom earlier." After hearing Lin Jiej's explanation, Shi Yao replied with an "oh" before urging Lin Jiej to hurry up and board the plane. "There's only 10 minutes left before the plane's doors close. We have to hurry up." Chapter 634. As soon as they boarded the plane, Lin Jiej leaned against the back of his seat and closed his eyes. Seeing that Lin Jiej had fallen asleep, Shi Yao didn't disturb him. Instead, she sat down beside him and watched a drama series that she had downloaded in advance with her earphones on. After eating their in-flight meal, she fell asleep as well. By the time Shi Yao woke up, the plane had already begun its descent. Lin Jiej was still sleeping beside her. Shi Yao didn't rush to wake Lin Jiej up. She waited until the plane landed and the cabin door opened before she nudged Lin Jiej lightly and said, "Lin Jiej, we're here." Lin Jiej slowly opened his eyes and glanced at Shi Yao's face. Before Shi Yao could catch the emotions in his eyes, he had already retracted his gaze, unbuckled his seatbelt, and opened the door to the plane's storage compartment. After taking their luggage down, he led the way for the plane's cabin door. Lin Jiej had booked a car in advance, so when he walked out of the airport, the driver was already waiting for him. After boarding the car, the driver sent the 2 of them to the hotel. Lin Jiej seemed to be very busy. As soon as he got into the car, he took out his laptop and began typing away at the screen. The sound of typing continued all the way to the entrance of the hotel's lobby. Lin Jiej only stopped after he closed his laptop. Lin Jiej had booked 2 rooms in advance. After checking in, Lin Jiej took the room card and headed upstairs with Shi Yao. It was only when Shi Yao swiped the room card that she realized that her room was right across from Lin Jiej's. Before parting with Lin Jiej, Shi Yao pulled her luggage and said, "I'll be heading to my room to pack my things first." Without saying a word, Lin Jiej nodded lightly before pushing open the door and entering his room. Shi Yao stared at the door that Lin Jiej had closed behind her for a moment, and she vaguely felt that something was amiss. However, she tilted her head to the side and pondered for a moment, but she still couldn't make sense of it. In the end, she decided that she was just overthinking things and entered her room. Shi Yao washed her face and changed her clothes before taking a look at the time. It was already 7 o'clock, so she picked up her phone and sent a message to Lin Jiej. "What are we going to eat tonight?" After sending the message, she didn't receive a reply from Lin Jiej for quite some time. She added another question mark. Seeing that he still didn't move, she took the room card and bag and went to his room. Shi Yao pressed the doorbell several times before the door finally opened. She had thought that since Lin Jiej hadn't opened the door for such a long time, he might have been bathing or sleeping. Who could have thought that he would be the same as when they had parted ways earlier? He didn't turn on the air conditioner, but the windows were open. The bed in the room was very tidy, as if he hadn't sat on it or lied on it. There was nothing in the room that had been touched. His suitcase was placed at the door, unopened. After taking a look at the situation in Lin Jiej's room, Shi Yao couldn't help but frown. It was obvious that he hadn't done anything after entering the room. So why hadn't he replied to his messages or opened the door for such a long time? Yao couldn't voice out the doubts in her mind. It just so happened that Lin Jiej was glancing down at his phone and glancing at the contents of her message. As if knowing what she was thinking, he replied, "I just received a call." Chapter 635. Hearing Lin Jiej's explanation, Yao didn't think too much about it. She took the elevator with Lin Jiej and headed to the hot pot restaurant. However, this wasn't the first time she had noticed that something was amiss with Lin Jiej, so she paid close attention to him throughout the entire meal. Other than being unable to eat too much spicy food, he didn't seem to be too different from how he usually was. By the time they were done eating the hot pot and returned to the hotel, it was only 8:30. After returning to their respective rooms, Yao went to take a shower to wash away the smell of the hot pot. Suddenly, she felt a craving for fruits, so she took out her phone and ordered a takeaway. Around 20 minutes later, the takeaway arrived. After Yao went downstairs to get the fruits, she didn't return to her room to eat alone. Instead, she knocked on Lin Jiej's door. Just like when she came to look for him earlier in the evening, no one answered the door. She pressed the doorbell a few more times, but there was still no response. Perplexed, she returned to her room. She put down the fruits, picked up her phone and gave Lin Jiej a call. No one picked up. So she sent a message. "Lin Jiej? I've been knocking on your door for so long, why aren't you opening it?" "Lin Jiej, I bought some fruits. Do you want some?" "Lin Jiej, are you taking a shower or busy? Remember to reply to my message when you see it." "Oh, you're ignoring me for so long. Are you asleep? Alright then, I'll eat it alone." After sending Lin Jiej a few more messages, Yao still didn't get a response from him. So she opened the takeaway, grabbed a fork and sat in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, enjoying the night view while eating the fruits. It was still early, so she didn't feel sleepy at all. After finishing a quarter of the fruits, she logged into the game. After returning to the hotel with Yao, Lin Jiej took a shower before lying on the bed wrapped in a bathrobe. As soon as he closed his eyes, he felt as if a curse had been cast on his ears. He recalled the words Yao had said at the Beijing airport that afternoon. "I also have someone I want to like. Someone I want to like. Someone I want to like." Those words echoed in Lin Jiej's ears countless times. He suddenly sat up, took out a set of clean clothes from his luggage and put them on. After stuffing his room card into his room, he walked out of his room and headed to the top floor's lounge to have a drink. The lounge of this hotel was beautifully designed. Through the bright windows, one could see the brightly lit city outside. While listening to the elegant music, Lin Jiej admired the night view below as he sipped on his wine. However, after a few cups of wine, not only did the stifling feeling in his heart not dissipate, it even intensified. He didn't know how long he had been here alone. The phone screen that he had placed on the table lit up. It was a call from Yao, but he didn't pick up the call. Instead, he gulped down a glass of wine. After he put down the wine glass, his screen lit up once more. This time it was a message from Yao. "Lin Jiej? I just knocked on your door for a long time, why didn't you open the door?" Why did she knock on his door? For a split second, Lin Jiej was just about to reply to her message when he saw her new message. "Lin Jiej, I bought some fruits. Do you want some? Don't eat it." Lin Jiej continued drinking and soon after, he received 2 more messages from her. This time he didn't even look at it. After he finished the wine on the table, he raised his hand and called for the waiter to bring more wine. The screen lit up again. Chapter 636. He instinctively turned to look at his phone, but before his gaze could land on the screen, he suddenly froze. As if oblivious to the fact that his phone screen had lit up, he turned to the waiter and pointed to a bottle of wine on the table and said, "Another bottle?" After the waiter left, Lin Jiej stared blankly at the night scenery outside the window. It wasn't until the waiter brought the wine over that he finally retracted his gaze and glanced at the dark screen of his phone for a moment before pouring himself a glass of wine. After finishing it in a single gulp, He placed the glass down and continued pouring himself another glass of wine. This time he raised the glass to his lips and took a small sip before putting it down again and picking up his phone. HM? Lin Jiej, are you taking a shower or busy? Remember to reply to my message when you see it. Oh, you're ignoring me for so long. Are you asleep? Alright then, I'll finish it alone. After reading the 2 more messages from her, Lin Jiej wanted to reply to her, but after tapping on the keyboard twice, he deleted the words that he had typed out and exited the message window. There was also a notification on WeChat. After tapping on it, he realized that someone from the Sexy and Frisky group had messaged him. There were already dozens of messages in there. Holding his phone in one hand, he swiped his finger across the screen and browsed through them one by one. Yao loves ice cream. Everyone. Does anyone want to play? Tide. Nope, I'm having supper with my wife. Juice. Let's finish this bowl of dog food, and we'll still be good friends. Yao loves ice cream. This round of dog food, I'm swallowing it whole. Expert of the monkeys, shared a game room in the group. Come on, let's play. Perhaps due to Shi Yao and Lu Binlai entering the game, the group fell silent. Just as Lin Jiej was about to exit the group chat, a new message popped up on the screen. Juice. Boss, we're lacking one player. Are you coming? Ignoring Lu Binlai, Lin Jiej was just about to exit WeChat when another notification popped up. This time it wasn't a message from someone in the Sexy and Frisky group. Instead, it was a private message from Shi Yao. Guru, do you want to play? No way. Lin Jiej grumbled in his heart as he raised his wine cup and gulped down all of the wine in it. By the time he put down his wine glass, a new notification had popped up on his screen. It was the game room that Shi Yao had shared with him. Lin Jiej averted his gaze away and refilled his glass once more. After which, he gulped down the wine in his glass once more. This time, after putting down the glass, his fingers fell straight onto the screen of his phone. After entering the game, Lin Jiej didn't say a word to Shi Yao, Lu Binlai, and Xia Shangzhou. Zhang Xian was a reticent gamer, so the trio didn't think that there was anything wrong with his words. Chapter 637. Juice. Boss, why aren't you getting in my car? I'm really sad, Wu. Expert of the monkeys. You're disgusting. You're a grown man, so why are you crying? Do you believe me when I say that I'll kill you with a single punch? Juice. I'm doing it willingly. What do you have to do with your grandpa? Oh. Expert of the monkeys. It's no wonder boss isn't getting in my grandson's car. Even I'm tempted to put justice before family. Not only was Lin Jiej used to Lu Binlai and Xia Shangzhou bickering over the slightest disagreement, even Shi Yao was so calm that it was as if the two of them were talking about, did you eat today? What did you eat? Or something as simple as that. It didn't take long for the car to catch up to Lin Jiej, and it slowed down to follow him. Expert of the monkeys. Boss, get in. Juice didn't say a word, but he continued to press on the car's horn. On the other hand, Lin Jiej turned a deaf ear to the noises coming from the other end of the phone. Maintaining a straight line, he continued running forward. Yao loves ice cream. That's weird. Why isn't the guru getting in the car? Is it because his voice isn't on so he can't hear us? Expert of the monkeys. That makes sense. Yao loves ice cream. Let me type and ask him. A second after Shi Yao said those words, Lin Jiej saw a line of words appear on the screen. Yao loves ice cream. Guru, get in. Ignoring her, Lin Jiej continued driving forward. Expert of the monkeys. That's weird. What's wrong with our boss? Could it be that he's not in the car because he's on autopilot? Juice. Wait for me to knock our boss over. It's not like he'll die from an accident. Lu Binlai's words sounded in Lin Jiej's ears through the earpiece. In the game, Lin Jiej was standing on top of a car. Just as Lin Jiej was about to jump back to the ground, a gunshot came from the southwest direction, piercing through his level 3 helmet and knocking him to the ground. Juice. Damn. There's someone in the southwest direction. Expert of the monkeys. Get out of the car, get out of the car. Hide behind the car. Boss, crawl over here and let Sis Yao save you. Juice and I will torture them. After being knocked down, Lin Jiej happened to land in a safe position behind the car. Shi Yao seemed to have heard Xia Shangzhou's instructions. After jumping out of the car, she immediately ran up to him and crouched down to try to save him. However, after her hand was placed on his head for less than 2 seconds, he crawled on the spot twice, interrupting her rescue. She reached out again to save him. He continued to climb. 2 times in a row. Yao loves ice cream, Guru, don't move around. I won't be able to save you if you do that. I don't need her to save me. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej dashed out of the car. Since they were in the blue zone, his health bar was dropping at a rapid rate. By the time he crawled to a place with no cover, someone from the team that was fighting against Xia Shang, Zhou, and Lu Benlai had already turned him into a crate. Then, a sentence appeared on the screen. Come to the bowl eliminated 111,111 with UMP5. Juice. There's something wrong with our boss. Expert of the monkeys. There's definitely something wrong. Chapter 638. Juice. Babe. Expert of the monkeys. Are you trying to coax me? As the two of them asked the same rhetorical question, a merciless laugh came from the headset. Juice Sis Yao? That's the funniest and most ridiculous thing I've ever heard to describe our boss. Expert of the monkeys. Same here. Juice. Sis Yao, can I interview you for a moment? How in the world did you manage to equate the word babe with our boss? Expert of the monkeys, coax me? What kind of person is our boss? He's a cold and aloof person, so how did he become coaxing me? Yao loves ice cream, harumphed coldly by Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou's teasing. She spoke up in dissatisfaction. That's right. What did I say wrong? I called him over to pick up the things but he refused to come. I passed the things to him but he refused to pick them up. I called him over and over again but he refused to get into the car. And even when he was beaten to death, he refused to let me save him. That's clearly a tsundere, just like a little girl who acts coquettishly. Babe is unhappy, so hurry up and coax me. Coax me, and I'll be happy as long as you coax me. A little girl who acts coquettishly. Is that how you describe me? Lin Jiej's face immediately darkened. Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai's laughter grew even louder. Ever since Lin Jiej heard Shi Yao's words toward Liang Juxi's cousin at Beijing International Airport, he had been feeling extremely displeased. However, with Shi Yao around, he was afraid that he would lose his composure and say something outrageous to her. So he had been trying his best to suppress the displeasure in his chest, trying his best to appear normal before Shi Yao. Hearing Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai's laughter, his lips moved without any hesitation. He wanted to vent all the pent-up emotions he had been feeling the entire afternoon. You too? He only said 2 words, and before he could even express the pressure in his tone, he heard an ayah in his earpiece. It was Shi Yao's voice. Without any hesitation, he immediately shut his mouth. Sis, it was from Shi Yao again. Before Lin Jiej could say anything, Xia Shangzhou, who had also noticed that something was amiss, asked, Sis Yao, what's wrong? Shi Yao only managed to utter a single word before she sucked in a cold breath. Then she heard the dull sound of something falling to the ground. Then it sounded like a phone had fallen to the ground. Sis Yao. Sis Yao? Sis Yao? Yao Shi. However, there was still no response from Shi Yao. Lin Jiej abruptly shot to his feet, but due to his excessive strength, he knocked into the table in front of him, knocking over a bottle of wine and splattering alcohol all over his body. Paying no heed to it at all, he called out with a slightly hoarse voice, "Attendant." Then, without waiting for the attendant to respond, he said, "I'll pay the room bill," before rushing over to the front desk, signing his name, and making his way to Shi Yao's room. He pressed the doorbell several times but no one came to open it. He had to run back to his room and call the front desk. It had only been 2 minutes since he hung up the phone, but he had already rushed the front desk several times. When the attendant finally appeared with the room card in hand, Lin Jiej was so anxious that he didn't even wait for the attendant to swipe the card. He quickly snatched the card from the front desk, swiped the door open, and dashed into the room. Chapter 639. Now, as soon as those 2 words left his mouth, he had already rushed to her side and asked, "Now what's wrong?" Her face was frighteningly pale, and her forehead was covered in beads of sweat. There was no color on her lips either. When she heard his voice, she tried to speak, but she only managed to squeeze out a single word: pain. Pain? Where does it hurt? Lin Jie asked as he glanced at Shi Yao's abdomen. Stomach pain? After asking that question, he raised his head to look at the surroundings before rushing to the bed. He took out her identity card from her bag and shoved it into his pocket before returning to her side. Bending down, he carried her up and ran out of the hotel room. Yao, bear with it. I'll bring you to the hospital right now. As he spoke, he hastened his footsteps. As they entered the elevator, he could feel Shi Yao's body trembling in his embrace. For some reason, his arms started trembling as well. As he pulled her into his embrace, he spoke once more, only to realize that even his voice was trembling. "Yao, don't be afraid. We'll be at the hospital right away." Even though it was already late, it was fortunate that the hotel Lin Jie had booked was located in the most bustling area, so there was an empty car right after they left. After Lin Jie carried Shi Yao into the car, he hurriedly said "hospital" to the driver before lowering his head and coaxing the young lady in his embrace with a gentle voice. Soon they arrived at the hospital. Lin Jie registered for a consultation, and Shi Yao was taken away by the doctor. The examination didn't take too long, but Lin Jie paced back and forth in the corridor in a state of panic. When the doctor came out, Lin Jie immediately rushed over and asked, "Doctor, how is she?" "She's fine. It's just acute gastroenteritis. I've prescribed some medicine for her, and she'll be able to go home and rest after she's done with the 4 drip. Lin Jie asked doubtfully, "Are you sure? She's already in so much pain that her body is trembling, and she's sweating profusely. How can she possibly be able to go home and rest? Do you know how to treat patients? Which medical school did you graduate from? What degree? Do you have a diploma? Where's your principal? Call your principal over." The doctor shot Lin Jie a sideways glance. "You can either stay here and watch over her, or I'll call the security to send you away." Lin Jie opened and closed his mouth, but in the end, he still decided to back down and head to the ward. Shi Yao was already hooked up to an 4 drip. Perhaps it was still a little painful, but she curled up into a small ball on the bed. Lin Jie sat by her side watching over her closely. Every once in a while he would ask, "Does it still hurt?" In the end, perhaps due to the effects of the 4 drip taking effect, Shi Yao fell asleep. When the 4 drip was over, the nurse came to remove the needle, and she was woken up by the noise. Lin Jie glared at the nurse in displeasure as she left the ward. Only then did he pick up Shi Yao and leave the hospital. Acute gastroenteritis left just as quickly as it came. After the 4 drip, other than feeling a little exhausted, Shi Yao was no longer in as much pain as before. She wanted to walk on her own, but Lin Jie wouldn't let her. She didn't argue with him, nor did she have the strength to argue with him. Thus, she allowed him to carry her onto the taxi. On the way back to the hotel, Shi Yao realized that there was a heavy stench of alcohol on Lin Jie. Frowning, she raised her head, which was pressed against his chest, and asked, "Did you drink?" Lin Jie replied with an Shi Yao was just about to ask why he was drinking, but before she could say anything, she suddenly realized that Lin Jie was only wearing a single shoe. Chapter 640. Lin Jie replied with an Shi Yao was just about to ask why he was drinking, but before she could say anything, she realized that Lin Jie was only wearing a single shoe. His feet were covered in dirt, and there were many places on his feet that were stained with blood. From the looks of it, he must have been walking barefoot for a long time. Did he lose his shoe while carrying me to the hospital? In an instant, an indescribable emotion filled Shi Yao's heart. She stared at his feet for a long while before she finally moved her fingers. Then she realized that his clothes were terribly wet. She frowned and turned around. His usually clean and tidy white t-shirt had a large patch of water on it. As he was relatively close to her, she moved her head closer to the patch of water, and she caught a whiff of the strong stench of alcohol on his clothes. In just a few short seconds, Shi Yao realized that his clothes weren't drenched by water, but by the wine that had spilled on them. She had stayed with him for a month, so she had a good understanding of his daily habits. He loved cleanliness to the point that it made one's hair stand on end. Yet, he was actually willing to accompany her in the hospital for several hours while wearing dirty clothes. Staring at the patch of water on Lin Jie's clothes, Shi Yao couldn't help but tighten her grip on them as she bit her lips. Lin Jie, who was hugging her, noticed the slight stiffness in her body, so he lowered his head anxiously and asked, "What's wrong? Does it hurt again? I told you that the doctor is a quack." Without waiting for Shi Yao to speak, Lin Jie turned to the taxi driver and said, "Sir, let's go to the hospital. We'll go to the best hospital in your area." "No, no, no." Shi Yao was so shocked by Lin Jie that she couldn't help but blurt out the word, "no," several times. Seeing that one of them was willing to go, the taxi driver was at a loss as to what to do. He slowed down the car and asked, "Are you going or not?" Fearing that Lin Jie would say something, Shi Yao raised her hand to cover his mouth before replying to the taxi driver, "Sir, I'm sorry, but we're not going to the hospital. We'll be going to the hotel address I gave you earlier." It was only after the driver sped up along the original road that Shi Yao stared at Lin Jie, whose mouth was still covered by her hand, and said, "I'm fine. There's no need to go to the hospital." As she said this, she seemed to realize something and suddenly stopped. She almost blurted out the words in her heart. "I'm just a little touched, what?" Lin Jie asked in bewilderment. Due to her hand covering his mouth, his voice was a little muffled. Recovering from her daze, Shi Yao replied with a casual, "Oh," before rolling her eyes, as if nothing had happened at all. She found a random topic to gloss over the matter and said, "I just wanted to ask why you didn't call me along when you were drinking." "How ungrateful of you." Lin Jie stumbled, not knowing how he should continue speaking. He couldn't possibly say that he was in a bad mood and went to drink, could he? How embarrassing. Lin Jie pondered for 2 seconds before replying, "I have an appointment with a client." Shi Yao nodded in realization. "I thought you were in a bad mood, so you went drinking alone." Chapter 641. That's hard to say. Anyone in my shoes would feel depressed at times, however. Shi Yao didn't say those words out loud. Instead, she suddenly thought of something and changed the topic. "Right? Did you spend a lot of money on your treatment tonight?" "It's not a lot to me." Lin Jie knew that Shi Yao loved to eat, so he often used the price of food to describe the cost to her. "But it's quite a lot for you. After all, a Häagen-Dazs ice cream a day is more than enough for you to eat for an entire month. So what if you're rich? Can you do whatever you want just because you're rich? Can you flaunt your wealth just because you're rich?" Shi Yao puffed up her cheeks. She didn't feel like talking to Lin Jie anymore. A moment later, Shi Yao thought that it was indeed a big deal to be rich. You can do whatever you want with money. After all, you can even afford to disregard a month's worth of Häagen-Dazs ice cream. But so what if Lin Jie is rich? Sooner or later, all of his money will end up in another woman's pocket. With this thought in mind, Shi Yao felt a little better. So what if Lin Jie is rich and capable of earning money? By the time a woman takes him in, he'll still end up working for her. Shi Yao was mocking Lin Jie in her heart when for some inexplicable reason, she couldn't bring herself to be happy at all. She was going to annul her engagement with Lin Jie, and it was impossible for Lin Jie to remain unmarried for the rest of his life. So, what kind of woman would marry him? Would she come from a prestigious family? Would she be very beautiful? Would she be mature and elegant? But that was weird. What was wrong with her? She clearly had someone she liked, so why would she care so much about the woman Lin Jie was going to marry in the future? While Shi Yao was deep in thought with a deep frown, the taxi stopped at the entrance of the hotel. After paying the fare, Lin Jie carried Shi Yao back to the hotel. He carefully placed her on the bed before asking, "Do you feel any discomfort?" Shi Yao shook her head. "I'm fine. Are you sure?" Shi Yao asked impatiently. "I'm really fine." He raised his hand and stroked her head, saying, "You should rest for now. I'll head back to take a bath. And I'll come back to see you later. As if an agitated kitten had been pacified, Shi Yao replied with a gentle Lin Jie stood up and walked 2 steps toward the door. Then, as if he had suddenly thought of something, he walked over to the water bar and boiled a pot of hot water. After pouring a cup, he placed it on the bedside table beside Shi Yao and said, "Drink some hot water first. I'll be right there." After Shi Yao nodded her head obediently, Lin Jie took one of her room cards and left. After sleeping for a few hours in the hospital, Shi Yao didn't feel as sleepy as before when she returned to the hotel. After Lin Jie left, she lay on her bed and looked at her phone. She noticed that there were many messages about her in the Sexy and Frisky group, and even Juice and Expert had sent her a private message. It was only then that she remembered that she had suddenly felt a stomachache in the midst of playing. She hurriedly sent a message to Expert of the Monkeys. "I'm fine." You also said that he's mentally unhealthy and that the probability of you being together with him is 0. Reading those words, Shi Yao immediately understood Mr. Numbers' intentions. In truth, she was the one who had told Mr. Numbers those words. She had spoken ill of Lin Jie many times in the past, but for Mr. Numbers to repeat them verbatim to her, she couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. Perhaps it was because she hadn't replied for some time. But Mr. Numbers sent another message. ? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.